Ready?
How's it going? I'm Wyatt.
I'm Dan.
We're here at the Team O'Neill Rally School. Very important mission today, just to talk a little about clutches. What is a clutch? How does a clutch work? We'll look at normal clutches, racing clutches, and really our goal here is to talk about driving a clutch and how to drive with a clutch to get the most life out of it.
As well as performance.
As well as performance.
Right. Okay, so first up we have a nice stock style clutch. It's got some normal organic material. How a clutch works is we got a pressure plate here. This is from a Jeep. And what happens is your throw bearing, when you push on the clutch pedal, pushes on these springs, this weird spidery looking spring thing, and that releases the pressure between the clutch disc and the flywheel that's on the other side that's attached to the engine. So when your clutch pedal is out, these are pushed together, and it presses that together and puts the power out to the transmission. Right? When you press the clutch in, these comes off a little bit, and you're released, you're allowed to change gear much easily. Alright, so then we have the clutch disc itself, right? We have different pressure plates for different pressures and different clutches. Yeah, you need a big, nice hydraulic ram to get that to push down. That's why you have the clutch pedal. But yeah, we got the organic material, normal style clutch here, stock Fiesta, I believe. You got little springs in it for a nice smooth engagement when you release that clutch pedal. Nice for driving down to Stop and Shop and all that. Nice smooth material, not too grippy, not too slippy. You can race on this, right? I've raced my car for 5 years or so on a stock clutch, the same disc. So they can last if you're nice to it and you shift nice. When you're not so nice to it, what happens?
Oh, what we see most commonly, we've got clutch slippers and then we've got clutch droppers. So the clutch slippers of the world will push the clutch in, their clutch disconnects, everything's freewheeling, it's all wonderful. When they decide it's time to go, they will like rev the engine and start to slowly release the clutch, and you'll get this thing when you take off. And you start to smell a terrible, acrid, burning smell of horrible material. And what's happening when you do that is, by slowly releasing the clutch, you'll have this spinning at a high rate of speed, and then all of a sudden it's got to go this, and you get this abrasion at 3,000 RPM, 4,000 RPM, whatever speed the engine's doing. A lot of heat gets built up because that energy has to go somewhere, and it starts to wear away at this, which is similar to a brake pad material or something else. And that's how you burn your clutch. And if you do that long enough, you end up with something like this, which one of our rally school students destroyed earlier. It's a different vehicle, it doesn't matter. You can see what's happened here. These are just the inner workings of it. Yeah, and all of this friction material has been burned off by someone who is slipping the clutch. So that's what happens. So when you ease off the clutch, you know, you might have to slip the clutch just barely to get going, you know, in first gear off a stoplight, you know, but be pretty quick about it when you're in that middle area and get off with the clutch pedal and start driving. The opposite of that is the clutch dropper, the drag racer. They take the mom's car to the drag strip or try and do a burnout off the lights or something like that. And what ends up happening is you have the engine spinning at high RPM and the clutch is sitting there, and all of a sudden when you dump the clutch or sidestep the clutch or, you know, kick the clutch or something like that, is those very different speeds meet very suddenly, and either it grabs and it does what you want, or once in a while, bang, and the guts all fall out of it and the whole thing just sort of breaks.
So what we have is the little springs are gone, and the posts that hold this center part where it goes to the flywheel or the engine or the transmission or whatnot has snapped straight off the middle, right? So the disc is fine itself, it's just that the connection point is now separated from the center. So you have no drive now. Same as this, no more material, no drive, not enough slip, snap it, no drive.
Yes, so it depends what situation you're in. You know, if you're just trying to race mom's Mustang down at the drag strip, great. You know, you got to get it on a trailer and get it home. If you're miles from home and it's the middle of the night and you're out at a rally or whatever you might be doing, yeah, if you burn your clutch material off, say you're off-roading somewhere in a truck and you burn your clutch, you know, it happens a lot in low range. People like to ride the clutch going over rocks and logs and things, and yeah, you fry your clutch in the middle of nowhere, you're going for a walk. And same if you break a clutch, yeah, your car's just not going to drive anymore.
So talking about stock looking clutches, now we got clutches all sorted, is a stock clutch versus a race clutch. Alright, so with a race clutch, stock clutch I should say, you have a lot of material on the flywheel, a nice heavy, easy to engage pressure plate and that kind of thing, right?
Comfort and smoothness we have here.
Exactly. So over here we have this AP Racing on a Fiesta R2 pressure plate here. Obviously this is from a Jeep, so it's a lot bigger, but this even still is not that big. You know, it's modular with a, you know, a friction material here that's interchangeable. And then the flywheel is going to be, you know, smaller, lighter, much more grabby, much more not as fun to drive. It's great for racing, but you know, driving around on the transits, and you wouldn't want to drive a full-on rally car around. It would be very annoying to drive. Same thing with the disc, right? You have your nice easy material, you have your little springs to make nice smooth engagement. This, even though it's got less material, this material is way more grabby. There's no springs in here. It's a lot stronger though, if you can see. You know, a lot more of these posts instead of a couple. On this one we have, you know, 15 or 16 or so holding that together, and that really grabby material is going to grab onto this nice lightweight flywheel and pressure plate a lot harder. So it's going to be harder to drive at slow speeds, but great to drive at fast speeds. You still got to be nice to it in ways. You can slip these clutches. You slip it because it's way more grabby of material. It's going to heat up a lot more quick, and you can actually fuse these together that they're so grippy. So that's why you really can't daily drive a real racy transmission or anything, because of these pieces, besides being more expensive, are just not meant to do that.
It's one of the things that we see, and it's sort of become a little bit of a joke, is the stage 3.5 clutch. We were kidding about, you know, would you want your daily driver to have a racing clutch in it?
If you don't skip leg day, you might want to, but it's going to be a hard engagement. It's going to be rough engagement. Hill starts going to be terrible. You're going to spill your girlfriend's slushy all over her face when you try to leave the stoplight. So. And
the other thing is, one of the functions of all of this kind of softness and comfort and these springs in here, it's so that if you do shift a little abruptly or let the clutch out a little quickly, it soaks up that jerky snappiness. Where if you put a race clutch in your car,
you're putting more load on the transmission, on the
transmission mounts,
the axles,
U-joints, CV joints, all of it. And you'll see that a lot, where maybe you put a race clutch in thinking everything's going to be wonderful, and you go to the drag strip in mom's Mustang with a race clutch in it and you blow up the rear diff, or a transmission mount, or a U-joint, or an axle, or something else, where you'd never have that problem with a normal standard clutch, even if you drove it like a complete knucklehead.
It's always good to have a failure point. Whatever failure point's the cheapest is probably the best one.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So that's the basics with clutches. You know, there's wet clutches, motorcycle clutches, and that kind of stuff. And there's different clutches you'll see out in the world. But a standard clutch is just a throw-out bearing that pushes on your pressure plate, opens this system up, in a normal clutch with a flywheel and everything else. And there you go.
All right. We'll
Drive
see you
nice.
next time.
Thanks.